This is how I used my iPad mini to write a book. It's not just a book though. It's a professionally printed cookbook that goes and preserves all of my grandma's recipes. You see, 13 years ago, my mom, my aunt, and we set out to preserve my grandma's old recipe cards. We did this by scanning them at a local FedEx store, and it was a great idea because we printed all the recipes and then we placed them into a 3-ring binder. But after using this binder for over a decade, when I look back at those scans, I just saw a lot of flaws. The lighting was uneven, parts of the scans were overexposed, and many of the handwritten recipes were difficult to read due to the faded ink. While the scans had also captured the wear and tear of years of my grandma's own use, the stains, smudges, and creases made the cards unreadable and honestly a hassle to read. And since my grandma lives in another state, it wasn't easy to just rescan the original cards. So these imperfect copies were all that I had. But that did give me an idea, a daunting one that took me years to finally commit to. I wanted to use my iPad mini, a device that I already used every day for emails, notes, sketching, or streaming, but this time it would be the main tool that I used to revive these treasured recipes for creating something even more meaningful. I wanted to print my own hardback book of my grandma's recipes. I didn't want this just for me either, but instead to surprise my grandma as a Christmas gift. I started with the Notes app. I'm using it to scan all of the pages in the binder. Now, I could have easily used a traditional scanner from my printer, but that would have taken exponentially longer. And we're thinking smarter, not harder here. So using the camera, I rescanned all of the pages in the binder. It's a little odd to be scanning a scan, but that's besides the point. I used the Notes app's black and white filter to pick up the pen strokes and drop all of the gray shadows from the pages. To keep this project from becoming overwhelming for me, I had scanned the recipes by type. I had breads, desserts, main dishes, frozen foods, and more. I created separate PDFs for each individual category, but this was just the beginning. I then turned to Procreate, an App Store exclusive software known for creating art. Procreate's editing tools were exactly what I needed to push these scanned recipes to the next level. I began by importing each PDF as a separate project into Procreate. One of the pros to using this app is its vast support of different file types. Importing each PDF would in turn convert each page into its own layer within the project. By separating the recipes into their own PDF category, I could focus on one section at a time, making the task more manageable and less overwhelming for me. The first challenge in Procreate was to separate each recipe to have its own layer. This part was tedious, especially since some of the recipes had a front and back on the card. Once all the recipes were separated, I proceeded to clean up each recipe card. Many of the recipes were written on lined note cards, and while the lines helped keep my grandma's handwriting neat when she first wrote them, they also interfered with the clarity of the scans at times. So using the eraser tool, I painstakingly removed lines from each card without disturbing the handwriting itself. This was a slow and detailed process requiring a lot of patience, but the result was definitely worth it. As I erased the line, the recipes became clearer and easier to read, allowing my grandma's handwriting to really shine through. Next came the stains and blemishes. The recipe cards had been used for decades, and as such, many bore the marks of a well-used kitchen. There were splashes of food from who knows when, and just the subtle wear over time. But they were gentle reminders of meals cooked and shared throughout the years. And while these marks told their own story, I wanted the final book to be clean and pristine as possible. So I meticulously removed every blemish while preserving their own original charm. After cleaning up the cards, I moved on to formatting the recipes. I wanted the final book to be as easy to use as it was to read. In Procreate, I arranged each page so the recipe title was at the top, the ingredients were listed to the left, and the directions were on the right. This layout made sure that the recipes were easy to follow, even though they were handwritten. And to keep everything consistent, I used a template to align the text and keep the spacing even among all of the recipes. The lines allowed me to create clean, professional layouts without compromising the handwritten feel of the book. One of the most time-consuming parts of the project was retracing the handwriting. In many cases, the ink had faded so much that sections of the letters had been lost during the original scan. The brush tool made it possible to go in and carefully retrace my grandma's handwriting, reconnecting the letters and strokes to restore the text to its original clarity. This task required a lot of patience and precision decision, but the result was worth the effort. But even with all the effort I put into restoring the cards, there were still moments when the handwriting was just simply too faded or smudged to decipher. When that happened, I turned to my mom. I text her pictures of the recipes and asked if she could figure out what certain words said. We'd go back and forth trying to piece it together, and sometimes she could help, but there were times when even we couldn't figure out what it said. And that's when I would call my grandma directly. She always knew exactly what the missing word was. I mean, she had the original recipe cards. And sometimes she would surprise me by saying, "Oh, don't use that version of the recipe, I got a better one." And then she would give me an updated version over the phone. I could have easily asked her to write it down for me and take a picture, but again, this was a surprise. Some of the recipes my grandma gave me during those phone calls had never been written down before. That presented a new challenge. How could I include these new recipes in the book without disrupting the consistency of handwritten recipes? I considered creating a custom font based on her handwriting by using samples of original letters. I experimented with this approach, but the result just felt too stiff and too mechanical. The font really didn't capture the authenticity of her real handwriting. That's when I came up with a different idea. Instead of using a font, I decided to piece together the letters and words from the original scanned recipes to create new ones. It was kind of like assembling a puzzle, if you will. I carefully pulled letters from words in different recipes and arranged them to form new sentences. This allowed me to create her unwritten recipes that still felt like it was done by my grandma, even though they were digitally pieced together. The end result was a cohesive set that maintained the look and feels of the original. With all the recipes restored, cleaned, and formatted, it was then time to turn them into a physical book. That's where Canva Pro came into play. Canva is an incredible, user-friendly design platform, and it allowed me to take the recipe pages I had created in Procreate and compile them into a professional-looking book. I used Canva to format each page, ensuring that the text was aligned visually and balanced. And their in-house graphics made it easy to create section dividers for all of the different categories of recipes, such as breads, desserts, and frozen foods. I went with a painted food art kind of theme. I think it turned out so beautiful. It really helped the book flow naturally and makes it easier for the reader to find the recipes they were looking for, especially with the added page numbers. One of the most meaningful parts of the process was designing the cover. I wanted the cover to be timeless, something that would honor both my grandma and the recipes she had passed down. Now, I may be a UI developer, but I am nowhere close to a design expert. But using Canva's templates, I found this beautiful template made by Vikia. It's a timeless design that felt both modern and nostalgic. So I titled the book Nadine McBride's Recipes and added a personal touch by including a photo of my grandma on the back cover. This photo was taken at my wedding of my grandma and grandpa, so it holds special meaning to me. Since everything was laid out and designed in Canva, I used their pro features to export the pages in a high-resolution PDF, ensuring that the quality will be suitable for printing. Now I was ready for printing. This is where Barnes & Noble Press came into picture. Barnes & Noble Press offers a service that allows users to upload their PDFs and have them printed as high-quality books. I created an account, uploaded my PDF, and selected the size, print quality, and paper type for the book. Barnes & Noble Press gave me the flexibility to choose exactly how I wanted the book to look, ensuring that the final product would meet my expectations. The only adjusting I had to do was ensure that the cover and the pages met the printing dimensions, something that I really wish I took into account early on in the project, but with everything finalized, I had placed my orders. When the book arrived, it was everything I had hoped for. Over 370 pages of my grandma's handwritten recipes, beautifully printed and bound in a matte finish cover. The book even has a ISBN number on the back of it, giving the feel of a professionally published work. And holding the finished book in my hands was the culmination of months, almost a year of hard work, and it was an incredibly rewarding experience. But the best part of this entire process was sending a copy to my grandma. I had a copy of the book shipped directly to her house, and it got there just a few days after Christmas. And when she opened it, her reaction made every minute of effort worth it.
The glue is really stuck.
Yeah.
There. Oh my heck, that is beautiful.
Now open it up.
I can't believe it.
That's all your recipes that you wrote on your note cards.
Oh my heck. I can't believe you did this. Open this beautiful tribute to her grandma, honey. So precious. You're such a sweetheart, honey.
I love you, Grandma.
I love you, honey.
Thanks to these tools, I was able to turn a personal family project into a professionally designed book that will be cherished for years to come. My iPad mini was definitely the backbone of this entire process, transforming a collection of worn, faded recipes into something that's lasting, beautiful, and meaningful. I really hope you all enjoyed this video. It'd mean a lot if you dropped a like. This project has been a long time in the making. It took me over a year to complete. The amount of time spent manipulating all 441 recipes equated out to a little over 19 days. It was a lot, but was far worth every minute. So if you like tech content, consider subscribing to my channel. I'm Maddie, and I will see you all later. Bye.